So, some of you guys might have heard the words of Benjamin Netanyahu, who compared the recent war against Hamas to the war of the Israelites, the Hebrews, against the Amalek people. And I would like to comment on that, but first, let's listen to the words of Benjamin Netanyahu.
You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible, and we do remember and we are fighting. Our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza and in all other regions in Israel are joining this chain of Jewish heroes, a chain that has started 3,000 years ago from Joshua ben Nun until the heroes of 1948, the Six-Day War, the 73 October War, and all other wars in this country. Our hero troops, they have one supreme main goal: to completely defeat the murderous enemy and to guarantee our existence in this country. We've always said, never again. Never again is now.
To understand those words, we really need to go back to the biblical story and have a biblical worldview. Since the Almighty God, through a sovereign decision, decided that the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob will be creating a line through which a Messiah will come that will destroy the evil powers of this world and restore humanity to a proper relationship with God, those people, the chosen people by God, have become a target of many attacks by the evil ones. The attacks on God's chosen people are determined, are focused to stop God's plan of salvation for humanity, because God has sovereignly decided that it is through this line that was created by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, He will redeem the world. Have you ever wondered why the Jewish people are so hated throughout the years, throughout the history of humanity? This small nation that is a fraction of humanity has always been hated by the sinful world. Why is that? Of course, when we think about the hate towards the Jewish people, we often think about the Holocaust and the modern anti-Semitism that we see every day. But this hatred goes back to ancient times. Did you know that one of the first mentions of Israel from the secular sources is the Merneptah's tale coming from the 13th century BC? And this tale, created by this pharaoh of Egypt, says those words: Israel is no more. This is the desire of the sinful world, so that Israel would be no more. And we see this desire from the very beginning of the creation of Israel up to this day. This timeless hatred had many forms, but all of those forms, all of those nations that in history hated Israel and wanted to destroy this tiny nation are of a specific nature that we know from the Bible. And it is the Amalek that has become the eponym of the evil and gloomy hatred towards the Jewish people. The historic people of Amalek have disappeared from history, and they have been defeated physically, but their spirit continues and takes many different forms in many different geographical locations and in many different times. And this spirit of hatred towards the Jewish people takes on today different forms, different masks. Some of them are very primitive, very up to your face kind of hatred, as we saw on the 7th of October, where there was just a cruel, raw hatred towards the Jewish people. But there are also other hatreds that are more sophisticated, that are hidden, but they are also very dangerous. What is interesting is that the Amalek people are not as spectacular in the Bible as other enemies of Israel, like the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Romans. But as the people of Israel are about to enter the Promised Land, they are reminded by God to remember the evil done to them by Amalek. Let's listen.
Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when ye were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it.
After a great and spectacular miracle that God has done when he collapsed the waters of the Red Sea upon the great armies of Egyptians, the Hebrews were finally feeling a breath of freedom. They were going forward, and they were looking hopefully to the time that they had given to them by God. And it is then when Israel is confronted by a new enemy that attacks in a very cruel way and uses all the weaknesses it can find. Those people are ruthless. They don't have any honor. They only want to cause harm, and they want destruction and pain. And their action become a symbol of hatred, of anti-Semitism towards the Jewish people that is carried throughout history. We can imagine this sinister situation. The Israelites are already very, very tired from the long journey. They have been traveling for a long time, and they are thirsty, they are tired, they are hungry. And this column of people starts to divide. The strongest go forward and strong. They create the head of the column. But the weaker ones, the children, the women, the sick, they cannot keep up. They are at the end of the column. As the Israelites were passing Rephidim, they entered a dry stream, and on all sides they were surrounded by high rock that were almost obscuring the sky. And here the sneaky attacks takes place. It doesn't attack the warriors at the front of the column, but it attacks at the end of the column, where the weak are, where the children are, where the women are, that cannot defend themselves, that are attacked from the back. This is the kind of attack that Amalek did. And this is when the slaughter begins. Shameless, cruel, motivated only to destroy the entire nation. It was not an attack to prove a tribal superiority. It was to eliminate, to exterminate. And this is exactly what we saw on October 7th. The Hamas militants that entered Israel, they didn't care about fighting an honorable fight. They attacked the most weak ones. They attacked those that couldn't defend themselves. They killed children, women that couldn't defend themselves. This was the attack of the spirit of Amalek. So, you may like Benjamin Netanyahu or you may not like him. But I think in this case, the words he said, they need to be understood in the proper context, the biblical context. And that was the intent of those words, that this is a fight, an eternal fight against the evil spirit of Amalek that has been consistent, that has been permanent, and wants to eliminate Israel. Now, people often say, okay, if Israel would only start being very nice to the Palestinians, give them all they want, then there would be peace. But I have a bad message for those people, bad news, that if that happened, there would be no Israel. Whenever Israel was defenseless, couldn't defend themselves, they were to be eliminated. Jewish people had no army when the Nazis attacked Poland. and created Holocaust camps on the territory of Poland. They didn't have an army. They did not cause any attacks, and yet they were to be eliminated. And this continues and repeats itself throughout history. Thank you for your attention. I am so happy that I can come back to you in this new year and give you new updates on the situation in Israel. I will continue to do that. Please remember to subscribe to the channel to be informed about the new updates. Also follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. Today it's X actually, so the links to those channels will be in the description of this video. I will be publishing some extra materials on those platforms, so make sure you look out for that. And also thank you for all the patrons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and thanks to you I can continue, I can do my work and inform you on what's happening in Israel, and also with the biblical perspective on that. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Shalom.